Welcome back to a brand new episode of That Video Game Podcast, and first of our two end of the year, Game of the Year Top 10 celebration episodes. I'm your host, Boston, and joining me as always is Moonpair.
Hi.
And the Nymph.
Hello.
So we're going to change a little bit here from an episode kind of production standpoint. Normally, we would have a predictions episode here before we got to the Game of the Year Top 10 stuff. The predictions episode was turning out to be, from a production standpoint, kind of a little bit too much lately. As our schedules and yours, the dear listeners, as time gets tighter and free time gets thinner, it was a little hard to make that happen. Also, I don't know what's going to happen in the industry tomorrow, nevertheless, a year from now, so I'm not sure we could even attempt to predict any of that. So, we have expanded the Game of the Year episode here, and then we've split it into two. So in this episode, we're going to talk about our year in gaming, and talk about how was our year in gaming overall. Did we play what we wanted? Did we miss a bunch of stuff? Did we not play the 20 games we were looking forward to, but we played 20 other incredible ones? It wasn't 20 this year for sure. Like, come on. There were only 78,000 games that were released this year. So how could we even get to a fraction of those? So we'll go around the horn with that. We'll talk about our best old game. And this is going to be, it's not necessarily, last year's game. It could be 2 years ago. It could be 35 years ago. Just whatever you played this year it played this year and you loved that didn't come out in 2024. We're going to, of course, talk about the crown jewel of games we talk about, 2024's Alpha Protocol. That's going to be our diamond in the rough, our B game. The game we love that maybe isn't the best, but it's got a place in our heart. Maybe it didn't review anything over a 50 on Metacritic, but we really love it. That sort of game there. And then we're going to do a revisit of our top 10 from last year. We're going to figure out, do we want to move anything around? A year removed from our top 10 from last year. Anything we maybe continued to play over the year and thought, man, why'd I put that at a 7? That's a 4 for sure. Yeah. That sort of thing.
Oh, I got a story to tell about that, but we'll get to that when we talk about that specific category / conversation topic today.
Right. And then in next episode, which we'll cover then, we'll get into kind of the rest of the stuff and the big list during that. So check that out in the next episode here. So let's get started here with our year in gaming. We're going to go around the horn like we usually do, and we're going to start with Moon. How was your 2024 in gaming?
Not gaming enough is how I would how I would say. If you've listened to the Outcasts, if you're a patron over at patreon.com/e1m1,
The ones are numbers.
Thank you.
Then you'll know that I had a less than ideal year this year.
A challenging year, yeah.
Yes. On top of everything that's regular challenging, I also had some personal challenges to deal with. And as such, my time has been greatly limited. So I didn't get to play what I wanted to play. I didn't get to buy what I wanted to buy. I don't have the hard drive space to install what I want to play that I can play, and then
install the 5th 150 gig game that came out this month.
We're gonna have to get you that first petabyte external drive.
That's right.
Run wild with that thing.
That's right.
So I was listening to Nextlander and listening to Alex talk about how he got a 4 gig NVMe and he just straight into his PS5.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, how easy is it to break apart a Series X? How easy is it to change out that hard drive?
Right. Can I hook a NAS to my Series X?
That's a good question.
2 terabytes isn't doing it anymore,
Right.
folks. Like,
right.
I've got an 8 on the external, but I can't play off that. So,
Yeah.
It is what it is at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I still have fun. I still played a lot. Check out the multitude of episodes we've done for Game Club and We Roguelike It and everything else this year.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really have a whole bunch of time or finances or ability to play the things I want to play. I really want to play Stalker, old and new.
Right.
I really want to play Indiana Jones. I really want to play Alan Wake 2. I really want to play all these other games. But it's like sometimes you want to play a game. It's like, I can only play this if I can sit down for a good 4 hours and really get into it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the Alan Wake 2 problem for me. I won't have 4 hours any day of the week,
right.
ever.
Right.
Yeah.
So like that kind of game has like slipped a little bit from my playlist this year.
Mm.
And the other type of game, the shorter game, check out my True Achievements thing on Discord from a while back if you want to see my genre choices this year, where it's like, oh, you played 3 third-person shooters, like 5 puzzle games, and 9 roguelikes. And it's
right.
like, yeah, of course I did.
Yep.
It's me.
That's right.
Like, come on. Ugh. But yeah, I mean, it's fine so far this year. Like, it's been fine. It's just not been ideal is the problem.
Nimp, how was your 2024 in gaming?
100% feel everything that Moon just said. I think the bigger problem is that as other places have also said, we are kind of in, for better or for worse, a golden age of video games where there is a really good game coming out once a week almost this entire year. We actually had like a ton of JRPGs drop this year, and we have a ton more coming out next year.
I mean, there was that weekend, I think it was April or something, where it's like, cool, 15 incredible indie games came out today. It's just like, why?
Yep.
What are you doing?
I think we're getting at that point of kind of oversaturation where it's like, okay, you guys as an industry need to start talking to each other
Spread
about
the
release
love
dates.
around a little bit.
Yeah, because we've had a lot of bad releases, which could have been good releases if everyone just worked with each other. I feel like anyway, but yeah, there's a ton of games. I was able to play a lot, which looking at my past game of the year lists, I usually write down all the games that I've played that year. I'm pretty much on track. It's usually about 20 games a year, and I'm about 19, 20-ish right now.
Okay.
So it hadn't really changed a whole lot for me, but there is just so many games out there right now where it's like, oh my God, I don't have time for that. And I could buy it, but it's like, I might as well just wait for it to go on sale and pick it up. The only things I've pre-ordered are like JRPGs that come out with like really cool collector's editions.
Right.
Everything else is like, I'll just wait for that to go on sale.
Yeah.
And I feel bad because then we get news stories about how like some indie developers are like, well, this game unfortunately didn't, sell as well as we were hoping for. It's like, I would have loved to have bought your game, but like, I don't have the extra money for it right now.
Yeah, like 30 other incredible games came out that same week. Like I can't buy them all. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, outside of that, it's too many, too much of a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is, So how about you, Boston?
Yeah, my year, I'm actually fairly happy with my year, but it's kind of weird because I feel like I didn't play anything that I was really looking forward to this year. I feel like I played Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. Those were kind of 2 games that I was really looking forward to, and a lot of the rest of the games this year were like, oh yeah, Metaphor looks really great. I'm going to go play this other thing. I'll get back to SMT5. I'm going to go play this other thing. Oh, this other giant RPG. Yes, I played 15 minutes of it. I'm going to go play this other thing. So I between that and between coming out here actually probably a couple weeks before this episode came out, we did the Game Club of the Year episode where we talk about and rank and revisit all of the 11 games that Moon and Musim and I played this past year. There's a lot of really cool games that we played this year. A couple of them kind of took us by surprise. So I think that's a lot of what this year was for me, of sort of like, I've never heard of this game before in my life. Let's try it. Whoops. It's one of my favorite games of the year.
Yep.
Or like, there's a new Prince of Persia game. Okay. Whoops. This game's incredible. It's all of those.
It's completely different, and yeah, it's best.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a lot of like left field and left turn kind of games this year. I haven't even attempted to start my top 10 list yet because I'm a little bit afraid of it. So I'm not sure how that's going to go, but I've been pretty happy with this year overall. I also echo your same sentiments of I sort of wish I played like 200 additional games because there's just so much incredible stuff that came out this year. There's just not enough time, not enough money, not enough just hours in the day in general. So
Yeah.
you got to choose what you're going to play. You play as much of it as you can, and that's sort of how it goes. So
yeah, until until Patreon pays for our full-time jobs and Boston's paying for our health benefits, then that would be great.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
Jesus.
Yeah.
I feel sorry for you if that ever happens.
That's
Healthcare is no joke.
That's right. That's right.
But hey, on the plus side, I do have a positive. My pile of shame is only like
five games.
stacks deep.
All
yeah.
right.
I think that's the lowest I've ever had it.
What do you have on your pile of shame? Read them out.
Dragon Quest III, the 2D remake, East 9 Nordics, Armor Core 6, Baldur's Gate 3. I have no clue when that is ever happening.
I just love it's like 50 hours, 100 hours, 200 hours.
And then One Piece Odyssey, and the only reason I haven't gotten back to that is because I'm only on like episode 444, and I have to be past episode 735 or something like that
200
for
hours.
this to kick in. Yeah, so that's kind of a time-based thing.
Yeah. Moon, you were gonna say?
I was gonna say that's the good thing about having a digital pile of shame.
Mm-hmm.
Mine's like
you can't see it
600
out of
long,
sight, out of mind.
and I can't see it.
That's right. That's right.
I am only one hard drive deep this year.
That's right. That's right. I'm doing better.
Technically, I'm 2 hard drives deep because I have the plug-in thing and the external.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about our first kind of big category here: best old game. I've sort of reduced it here down for all of us to be kind of one winning game and up to two honorable mentions. So if any of us wanted to speak about 3 games total, if you just got one, it's all good. We're super chill about any of the lists this year. Moon, why don't you hit us up with your best old game or games?
I'm going to do this in reverse chronological order, also reverse award order, and I'm going to talk about my honorable mention first.
Mm-hmm.
It's Returnal, baby.
Yeah. Talking about We Roguelike It.
Really good game that I just, unfortunately, it's so hard.
Yes.
Like, it's so hard.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, Boston, is Returnal too hard?
No.
Enough.
It's one of those great games, though, that I sort of forgot how rewarding it is when it clicks. When you have that moment of like, oh, all of it comes together. Both sides of my brain are firing in the right way. Everything is in sync. Now I kind of get it. And then you fight the next boss and it smacks you into the floor. And you're like, well, I still have work to do.
Oh, 100%. Yep.
Yeah.
And that was, by the way, for those of you who don't know, that was a wonderful in-joke. You should go listen to our outcasts if you want to. Don't know which one it was. Go listen to them all. You'll figure out that joke. Yeah. Returnal is fantastic. It plays well. And I'm playing it on my PC, which I would prefer to play it on a console, but I don't have a PlayStation 5, so that ain't happening. It's just a really good game visually, like design-wise. I think it's fantastic. It's so much faster than I expected it to be as well, which is just a shocker all around. My second honorable mention, because honestly, since the start of December, I've been a little checked out. We'll say not in a bad way. I've just taken my foot off the gas. Like January 1st will hit, and then I'll pedal to the metal, and then I'll spend 52 weeks of the year pushing myself as hard as I can possibly push myself to go and do as much as I can, both in real life and for the show. Pretty much since the start of December, I have taking my foot completely off the gas. I'm just coasting now, and Descenders is back, baby.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Like, I cannot not play this game now. It is literally all. It's all I'm thinking about. Like, I'm coming home and getting home at like 9:30 at night and being like, I can do a daily. I can do a daily.
And just a couple races. Just a couple.
Just a little run. Just a little run.
Yeah.
But well, you know, it's a road. Like, how long can a run go? An hour is how long a run can go now, because I'm
That's
good
how
at that game now. It's the classic Isaac problem. It's the Gungeon problem. It's the roguelike problem as a whole, where it's just like, no, I get this game now. I'm down. I have everything all in line. Oops, all Descenders is
Right.
now my video game playlist. When I get home from my second job, it's just like, no, pajamas on, Descenders loaded, let's ride downhill.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. I love Descenders. It's fantastic. You all go play Descenders.
Yeah.
If you like roguelikes.
It's on Game Pass. Go play Descenders.
It's on Game Pass. Well worth its time. Give it a shot. If you don't like it, I understand.
Yeah.
I genuinely do. I'm pretty sure it was in my Game of the Year list and my Alpha Protocol list the year it came out. So
Right.
that should give you exactly the impression that you need.
Yeah.
But the best old game, and I know this is the best old game because me talking about it has had you guys thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't say it.
It's Control.
Yeah. You talking about Control made me go play Control a couple weeks ago, and I was just like, all right, let's install it. Let's do it.
Control is so good, dude.
Yeah.
Like, and this is part of why I'm so bothered by the fact that I haven't got around to Alan Wake 2 yet. Is like, I know I'm in day one whenever they release that multiplayer game. Like,
Yeah.
I know I'm in. I know I'm probably in day one when they release the Max Payne games.
Mm-hmm. Remedy is your studio.
Of those, 100%.
Yeah.
I am an unapologetic Remedy fanboy. They are the cure to my ills. They are the safe place I go to. And just replaying that game is just like, yeah, dude. Like, I mean, I don't think Alan Wake 2 aside, because I haven't played it. There hasn't been, while I've been doing this show, there hasn't been a year where a Remedy game was released and it wasn't my game of the year.
Right.
Like, that should tell you what you need to know about my relationship with Remedy. I adore Quantum Break. It was my game of the year.
Dude,
I think that game was
Quantum Break
fantastic.
too when I played that. Like,
Mhm.
that was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why everyone hated it so much.
Yeah.
Because it was the really bad era for Xbox, where it was like, it's your hub away from home kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
But I adore it, and going back and playing it is just like, I've played it before, so I can do it in like 20, 30, 40-minute chunks.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm playing the DLC, which I've never played before, which is opening up brand new abilities, new worlds, new enemies, new story, new backgrounds, and it's just like, yeah, dude, I really, really love this stuff. And like, in its defense, I was not an SCP person. I wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
Remedy got me into SCP.
Right.
And SCP is going to get you into Roadside Picnic.
Mm.
Yeah, exactly. Which is going to get me into Stalker, and then I have really
and then
big
Metro,
problems.
and then
I like Metro. The first one.
Metro's a really good series.
But like, it's like, Control is responsible for these big hardcover books sitting right behind me.
Yeah, Moon's holding up a big hardcover SCP book.
Foundational.
Yes, this was the Kickstarter one that we talked about earlier this year. And like, it's got me reading stuff like this again. It's got me interested in this kind of world building again. Like, I don't think it's. I mean, is it cosmic horror potentially?
I think a little bit,
kind of, yeah, because there is a little bit of eldritch horror kind of stuff that shows up off and on. But then there's also like SCP-001. Sorry, this is getting way out of topic.
Is that the living room?
No, a version of that is the multi-winged angel, the uncountable winged angel, who is considered to be the guardian of heaven. But there's like 8 different versions of SCP-001, because the true version of that could wipe out the world if it's ever known. So it has to be forgotten. So that's why there's multiple versions of it.
Right.
Yeah. But like, it takes a special like game to make you think this is really cool. Let me read more about this kind of stuff. And you guys are making me aware of SCP. And now it's like I'm playing Lethal Company with SCP mods, and I'm not doing that without Control. Like, it has had a knock-on effect to so many different things that I do and read and experience, and it's just like, yeah, you know what? Maybe like the Remedy verse is actually secretly like my favorite. Like, it's not multiverse,
shared
it's all
world,
the same
maybe?
thing, but yeah,
yeah,
like them slowly weaving Alan Wake into it, and then talking about how Alan Wake is basically writing Max Payne, and now they own the rights to Max Payne again. So
right, true.
So you know, bring it on. I love Control. Control is fantastic. It is my best old game. Y'all should go play Control if you've not played Control, and you don't even need to have played all the other games.
No, yeah, you can just start with Control. Yeah.
Yes.
Nimp, what are your best old games?
All right, my best old games. The first one I'm gonna bring up is probably Terminator Resistance.
Oh yeah.
Because I did the whole thing of, okay, well, since these are kind of tied in with the actual canon, let me watch the movies. So then I had to hunt down the Blu-ray versions of the movies, and then went around to playing this. And this was a fun, dumb game. A little broken.
Sure.
But yeah, it was just a first-person. A little bit of crafting, not a ton. There wasn't any survival aspects to it, but it was like you run around, you're looking for survivors, you're trying to survive, all while trying to hide from lore accurate Terminators. Whereas like the first one you come across, you shoot it with a shotgun, it doesn't do anything because it wouldn't have done anything, even on easy mode. So it was Terminator Resistance is a great game. I would highly recommend anyone pick that up and play it. And it's usually on sale digitally a lot too. So but then the next one right after that, following kind of what led me to starting all this, was RoboCop Rogue City. All because I went to go see Deadpool and Wolverine with a friend. He's like, dude, you need to play this RoboCop game. And I'm like, okay. But I also need to buy the RoboCop movies on Blu-ray because I haven't watched those in forever either.
Yeah.
And this is supposed to take place between 2 and 3. And I had an absolute blast playing this game. It's just a dumb 80s movie to the max. And I know I complained at one point about the shooting range being crap because the aiming is a little off.
Right.
But eventually you just get a chip where it's like your gun turns full automatic and you have infinite ammo. So it's really upholding the 80s aesthetic of an action movie.
That's right.
And then, it was no problems getting to like 400 points, on a gun range. But even just like walking, like hearing all the sound effects for both these games, where it's like everything clicks the way you remember it clicking. Certain things power up and they have like that energizing noise that you're used to hearing.
Yeah.
RoboCop doesn't run. It's just his steps get heavier. He's a tank. Like the dude doesn't run. So I had an absolute blast playing both of those games. But my top old game, I guess, is gonna have to go to Phantom Pain, Metal Gear Solid 5 Phantom Pain, because I started playing that again. Like it almost feels like cheating because this was kind of a game of the year, game. So, but just jumping back into it, not remembering where I was at, and then just dropping myself on the map and be like, oh, this feels good. This still looks good. And then not remembering how to do anything, dropping your mag because, oh, that's not reload, that's throw the magazine to get somebody's attention. And, it's just remembering the game playing there. And I've played a ton of it. I haven't really talked about it recently because it's just been a lot of random. I did a mission and completed it. Like nothing weird has happened. Unless you guys want to listen to me talk about ambush tactics for the next hour and a half and how I enjoy putting C4 everywhere, So, but yeah, Metal Gear Solid 5 still holds up. If you have not played, God, go get the Metal Gear Solid collection. Like seriously,
those are really good. The ones that came out on on kind of last gen and current gen ones.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
playing Metal Gear Solid 1 in just PS1 pixelated glory
Mm-hmm.
was dumbest fun I had had in a long time as well.
Yeah.
And 2 and 3 still hold up pretty well, especially the upgraded versions.
Mm-hmm.
And they're doing that Delta version of 3 now, so
Right, right.
but yeah, hopefully they come out with a volume 2 that's going to be good with everything else that everyone's missing.
That's right.
So, but yeah, that's what about you, Boston? What do you got?
I have 3 games here. My number 3 one is Go Mecha Ball. It came out last year, and we played it this year on We Rogue Like It. Um, I haven't played a game like this that just feels good and feels
So
unique
crisp.
at the same time. Like you're just this little robot that you hold down one of the triggers and you turn into a ball and you're just screaming across the screen and bouncing off stuff willy-nilly and like doing damage to enemies. You're bumping into them to interrupt their attacks. You're eventually doing slam attacks on stuff, and like it just, there's something about it that they nailed, this kind of controlled chaos that when you watch a trailer of the game, you're like, there's colors and explosions and everything is shooting and there's 40 enemies on the screen. But when you're playing it, it really does feel so good and it feels so snappy and so solid that I can't help but love it. And it's I haven't played the PS5 version that came out earlier this year, but I really really liked what I played out of that, and that's been one of the games that kind of stuck out for me this year. Of just like, all right, you made something that looked like roguelike Marble Madness, but turned out to be something completely different in a way that is really great. So please go check Go Mecha Ball out. It's really good. My number 2 is Slice and Dice. This one has like 1 foot in last year and 1 foot in this year, because version 3 of Slice and Dice, which was like a complete overhaul of this game, came out this year. Of course, after we did our We Rogue Like It episodes about
Yes,
it.
of course.
The game, like, the developer kind of like retooled a bunch of the game. I think the game in version 3 turns out to be a much more cohesive thing. It's still, I think, pretty approachable, but I think it's a lot, it feels a lot more balanced, kind of feels a lot better. And I usually don't, we play a lot of roguelikes every year, even through We Rogue Like It and through other stuff. But we typically don't gravitate towards dice-based games. And I don't play a lot of dice-based games in general, sort of other than Sleeper. What is that game that I love? The tabletop Citizen Sleeper. That's like the ones I really gravitate towards. But there's something about Slice and Dice with each die corresponding to a character. So you can only have, 6 attacks or spells or defense or rerolls or whatever, and you're just kind of rolling that. And the same applies to the enemies too. So the enemies can get bad dice rolls. You can lock their die. You can do all of this interesting stuff. And there is this game that I thought was fairly big. Once you start playing it, you have just a ton of character classes and stuff. And then eventually you just unlock the option to just randomize literally everything. It's just like, here's random character classes. Here's a cat that's carrying around 4 swords and 2 spells. Like, you're playing as a flower, and it's somehow incredibly overpowered. It's really great, and I think one of the big reasons too why I stuck with it so much during this year was because the mobile version turned out to be way better than I even expected. The PC version was really great, and I played a lot of that on my laptop, but the mobile version is really, really cool.
It's so crisp.
Yeah, it's such a great game. I did kind of fall off it during the year because I think once the game got pretty challenging, I needed to move on to other games that we're playing, especially for We Were Like It. But this is one I keep installed on my phone, and I really remember fondly for playing this year. So please go check out Slice and Dice. It's really, really great. But my best old game this year, this one was an easy one for me. It's Dredge. Hands down. This is one of those I got suckered in by a PlayStation Stars campaign like I always do, where I'm like, I'll start up get the trophy for completing the intro. No big deal. I can 15 minutes, and then like 35 hours later I'm like, yeah, I think I'm done with Dredge. Whoops, just kind of tripped and fell and sailed my tugboat in the eldritch horror seas for 35 hours. This is one of those games that just you play one of those every once in a while where you're like, yeah, this looks pretty cool, and it just clicks with you immediately. You're like, yeah, okay, this is there's a timer and there's some stakes here, but it's this kind of spooky horror mutated fish casual chill fishing game sort of thing that really just I think came along at the right time for me and just played great, ran great. Dredge is super, super cool. And I still never finished that one DLC, the Frozen one, because I felt like by the time I get to it, I was I'd kind of completed all I wanted to in that game. I was like, all right, I have one more piece of DLC to go, but I think I'm happy with where I am at the moment. So
yeah, save it for later.
Yeah, you never know when you want to do some ice fishing for probably tentacled horrors. But yeah, Dredge is... yeah, maybe. But yeah, Dredge is really fantastic. So I another super high recommendation from years past. But let's talk about 2024's Alpha Protocol. If this is the first time you're listening to one of our end of the year wrap-up episodes, we love B games. We here at the TVGP Collective love B games. Our ultimate B game is Alpha Protocol. The diamond in the rough, the kind of, your favorite 7 out of 10, the game that you're like, oh, you should really play it, but here's a couple of things before you start. And then you have like a list of 5 things of like, just get through this. It's like recommending someone a TV show and you're like, it's so good. Just get through season 1 though. That's kind of rough. Season 2 though, it's real good. Like it's
the fringe effect.
Yeah.
It would benefit from a remaster.
Right.
So that way it looks to today's standards.
Right.
But you can still yell at it for missing a pistol shot at point blank range.
That's right. You only had 85% aim. You weren't guaranteed to hit it. Yeah, so that's kind of our thing. So we're going to talk about our 1 winning game and up to 2 honorable mentions here for 2024's Alpha Protocol. Moon, why don't you start us off with your list?
Well, my honorable mention is nice and easy because this was a difficult category for me this year. It genuinely was. Mm-hmm. Because despite the fact that every game seems to come out broken, I don't play them right away. So most of the problems get fixed before the time I get to play it. So my honorable mention is Have a Nice Death. Genuinely fantastic controlling, amazing looking roguelike that I cannot play because it constantly deletes my save.
Yes. That was we had to take a kind of a mulligan on that game this year of like, all right, we're starting it, we're playing it, it's pretty great. Whoops, one of us genuinely cannot keep playing it due to circumstances out of our control.
Yep, it's not ideal, we'll say. And as such, I don't really have anything to sit in this slot. The problem is, like I said, I don't have anything that's noticeably, this is problematic. Like Genesis Alpha 1 is a prime Alpha Protocol. A lot of times
you play a game during the year and you're like, this is my Alpha Protocol of this year. Like I love this. I love 100%. This hot mess of a game. I can write in now in ink. It's the top of the list. Yeah.
Descenders got it. Genesis Alpha 1 got it. Like these are Descenders is much better now than it was then. Mm-hmm. And I can't give it Alpha Protocol again this year, unfortunately, because it already won it 2 years ago.
Right.
It's kind of got to be the last stand Aftermath for me.
Oh yeah, that's a great choice, man.
It's not 100% polished. It has some issues. Apparently, the console versions are riddled with bugs, so I'm very happy that I played it on the PC version instead. It controls fine. It plays fine. The sound is fine. But oh boy, did this thing gel with me real hard.
And it's so funny. We both judged this game by its cover when it came out of like, oh good,
100%.
a twin stick zombie roguelike. All right, let's play this. We played it and we're like, oh, all right. This game's got some stuff going on. Okay. And
It's
week over
really
week
good.
on We Roguelike, we're like, okay, all right, I unlocked this new thing. This game's actually pretty cool. Mm-hmm.
Hey, I found a new enemy type. It's a giant thing that runs at you and just smashes into you. Maybe just run away from him from now on in the future.
Yep.
Again, I think it's polished enough to not make this list.
Yeah.
But also I think it's just rough enough to also make this list. So it was like a borderline call.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, nothing else I've played at all even comes close to this. Like there was, like you said, Boston, all of us will do it. We'll play something and you'll be like, Alpha Protocol, I got a slot for you at the end of the year, baby.
That's right.
It's you. You're getting this slot. And
right.
I just haven't had it this year.
Yeah.
Like that much at all. So The Last Stand Aftermath, which was 2020, by the way.
Wow.
For those of you who didn't know.
Wow.
But yeah, Nimp.
Yeah, Nimp, hit us up.
Well, apparently 2020 is the year for Alpha Protocol games because JRPGs normally don't get release busted. So they might have some translation issues, but usually the mechanics work out fine. And I haven't really played anything from this year that has been broken. Stalker 2 would have been it if I had bought it and played it, but I haven't. So yeah, I don't have an honorable mention, but the game that I would give this award to is SnowRunner, which comes from 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Pandemic years, baby.
That's right.
Because of all the weird physics. Like I've had this game crash on me once so far, and haven't had an issue with it since. I don't even know why it crashed, but every time I log into it, it yells at me that there's new items in my inventory and that I should restart the game. It's like, well, I haven't installed any mods and anything I would have had would have been in the game, so no.
Right.
But I can just load the game and get into it, and I'd never hear from it again. So I don't know what it's yelling at me about.
So good.
The physics is so weird. Anytime I try to go over a like a wooden bridge that doesn't have any railing, like your vehicle is just gonna flip. I don't know why. It always tries to drive to the edge and it will always flip itself.
That's right.
I was driving down a road and I don't know what the tire touched. Oh no, it was a trailer. I was driving down a road and a trailer barely touched the side of my vehicle and my front end went all the way up, and on my back wheels I did a 180 and slammed down and did a bunch of damage to my vehicle.
Great.
Like, what the heck?
I love it.
Tires, I have mud tires on my truck right now, my scout vehicle. It's like driving on ice. Like there is no traction unless I'm in the dirt. If I'm on any kind of asphalt, that thing is just sliding everywhere.
Right.
But it's just dumb fun.
Yeah.
So I floated down a river. Had no control over anything.
Great.
Just floated down a river
Jesus,
and managed to pull myself out of that. Yeah. The only thing that saved me was a snorkel that I had on my truck.
Incredible.
It's a lot of, can I make this? Nope. Or that worked surprisingly.
Yeah.
You know, it's just yeet that thing over a cliff and see what happens.
Exactly.
So yeah, SnowRunner 2020. That is my 2024 Alpha Protocol Game of the Year.
There you go. For me, I lied, Moon, earlier. I had a game this year that I knew it was an easy shoe-in for Alpha Protocol, but I'm more than sure it's going to end up on my top 10 list.
It can be both. Descenders was in both.
Right.
It can be both.
Okay. I'll do that one last then. That'll be my my Alpha Protocol of the year. Last Day in Aftermath, completely forgot about that. We just talked about it. I want to mention that again. It's really great. Lethal Company. That
You've been playing this without me, I understand.
Just like once, maybe. Just baby, I just did it once. It didn't mean anything. That could forever be your Alpha Protocol game of every year. You could just that could be on the stamp.
I think that was mine last
every year.
Maybe.
Yeah, like it's the charm of that game is that it's always 2 steps away from completely falling apart. And like every time you fire 100%. It up, every time, even without mods, it's always like it's running downhill and you're kind of like a little out of control, but you're still okay. Yeah. But one wrong step,
the anime run downhill with the legs spinning.
That's right,
the arms
and
spinning.
Your arms
and
are
you're
just like behind you. Yeah.
There's been plenty of times where it's like, oh man, my computer is chugging trying to play this, and then I hear somebody else go, "Did anyone just hit like a whole bunch of frames all at once?" It's like, oh, it wasn't just me.
That's right. I do want to give a special shout out to Endless Dungeon as well. I didn't stick with this game because maybe it stepped too far over the Alpha Protocol line of like it went from like B game to something that maybe has some kind of foundational problems. But I think as one of the 2 people on the planet that really likes Dungeon of the Endless, them taking a different approach to a sequel of it in Endless Dungeon, I think was interesting. It was an interesting choice. It's a lot of like when you looked at Risk of Rain, you're like, oh, you're making a sequel? Great. And they're like, yeah, it's 3D. It's like, okay, sure. And that worked out fairly well. And I think Endless Dungeon gets close, but I think it's kind of stumbling under its own weight pretty often, which I like in a roguelike. I like these roguelikes that are like too fiddly or a little too complex or like a little bit just you kind of made like 1 or 2 decisions that kind of throw a monkey wrench in the whole thing. Like that is definitely Endless Dungeon. Easily though, my Alpha Protocol of the year, Click Holding. This is a game that's $2. It is maybe 45 minutes if you're moving real slow. It is surprisingly one of the more emotionally affecting games this year, about a dude that wants you to watch you click one of those clicking machines, and you just got to click it 10,000 times. It is, we were lucky enough to interview Zolliver Nelson Jr. This year about click holding specifically, and about his Studio Strange scaffold. And I think click holding is one of those games that comes along every once in a while where you're like, this is dumb. Come on. You're like trapped in a room. This game's like $3. And you finish it and you're like, oh, dang. Okay. Yeah. All right. Yep. Click holding. I have never played anything like it. I will probably never play anything like it again. And
yeah,
I think it kind of hit Moon and I especially in a surprising way. That was an easy highlight of this year's Game Club. So I will likely talk about it again in top 10. We'll see how the top 10 shakes out, but it's definitely like a very small team made a game on a shoestring budget in one very constrained location with one character model, and that's about it. But they get the most they can get out of that in a way that's really impressive and really inspiring from like a game design perspective. So that's click holding. Just you should go take an hour of your time to go check that out. And then go listen to our Game Club, and then go listen to our interview. Zalvir was a fantastic guest. He was really great. All right, let's talk about our last category here for today, for this episode. We are going to revisit our top 10 list our individual top 10 lists of last year. We're going to go through, we're going to talk from 10 to 1 real quick, list out our list for those of you like ourselves that don't remember our list from last year. And then we're going to talk about how do we feel about it? If we're going to move stuff around, would we move anything around? How are we feeling a year later? How does our last year's list look? Moon, why don't you start us off with your top 10 and then how are you feeling?
So I just want to give it a little breakdown for those of you who are wondering where this idea specifically came from, because I've been pushing this for pretty much all year since we talked about what potentially the end of the year shows were going to involve. This is something I put forwards. Two things really inspired this. Number one, a throwaway line by Patrick Klapik on one of the Waypoint radios that I listened to throughout the course of the start of the year. So maybe 4 years ago, he was like, yeah, it's something that is occurred to him as something to do is to look back literally the year later and find out. And I kind of ran with that because this is what I want to call the Edith Finch problem. Because when we did the top 10 that had Edith Finch in it that year, I think I put it at number 7.
So you want to write past wrongs of like, I made a mistake. This was too low. This was too high.
I haven't stopped thinking about Edith Finch
exactly
since that
really,
top 10.
Really hit you, huh?
Every other game on that top 10
good.
list, I couldn't tell you what it is.
Right.
I couldn't tell you what was number 1. I couldn't tell you what was number 10. I did Edith Finch.
You can
dirty.
remember working in the fishery. That's what you can remember.
Exactly.
Yep.
That game has stuck with me, and it's hollowed out this little place in my soul where it's just like, yo, Edith Finch might be one of the best games ever made, kind of thing.
Hollowed out a hole in your heart and stuck that weird house in there. Yep.
And that was carried on this year because as soon as like March rolled around, I was like, yeah, I was wrong at my top 10 list.
Ooh, exciting. Okay.
And for the records, like you said, like I'm not particularly righting wrongs here. It's like that was how I felt at the time.
Right.
This is how I feel now. Yeah. So
these episodes are always snapshots in time. It's not meant to be, this was the best game of forever that released, and I will never be wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So like with all that being said, my top 10 from 10 to number 1, AEW Fight Forever, Vemba was number 9, Spirit Hunters, Infinite Horde, I almost said Infinite Wealth, was number 8. Mario Brothers Wonder was number 7. Payday 3 was number 6. Ghostwire Tokyo 5. Grounded 4. Jedi Survivor 3. Lethal Company 2. Dead Space 1.
Okay. It's a heck of a list.
Last year, surprisingly, full of bangers. Who would have thought? Yeah. I'm moving 3.
Oh, okay.
So the 3 I'm going to shift, and really stupidly, ironically enough, I was like, didn't Starfield get on my list? I was like, no, I did not. It got an honorable mention.
No, thanks.
Same with mine.
I'm moving the top 3 around.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Dead Space goes to 3.
Ooh, okay.
I love Dead Space. I think it's fantastic, but it's a remake. I think my love of Dead Space, and go listen to that episode, you'll find out how much I love Dead Space. I potentially puts the tilt, if you want to use that metric from back in the day, to move Dead Space higher.
Okay.
So I think Dead Space goes to 3. I think Jedi Survivor goes to number 2. This is particularly inspired by a conversation that I had with Mackie, friend of the show Mackie, who just... Nib, you've finished Survivor, right?
Oh, yeah.
He just got to the point where you have to disable the drill, and that traveling sequence happens with that person. And I'm not going to spoil it again because it's so good.
Right.
And talking with Mackie about that moment, I was like, oh, Jedi Survivor was so good. It was so good.
Man. Shuffling around the top 3. I like it.
But Lethal Company has to be number 1.
Yeah.
I said at the time, I'm not sure if Lethal Company is number 2 or number 1, and I might regret this later. It turns out I did regret it later. Lethal Company should be number 1.
Especially after continuing to play it for a whole year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A whole year. And every time we play it, there's something new. There's something stupid. There's something fun. Aided by the fact that there are a bunch of mods for it, but the mods don't exist unless that game is a baseline level of certain quality anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And just go listen to the episode from a couple of weeks ago where I talk about one of the best endings to playing it I've experienced. Go watch the video highlights of our anniversary show and the chaos of like 9 people in there all at the same time.
It's so good.
Where it's just like I literally can't focus my brain because there's too many people talking at once. I'm just like, look, just hit the level, let's get down there and have people go their own way so I can stop hearing so many voices.
Yeah.
Like I don't play games on the PC. I just don't.
Mm-hmm.
And Lethal Company, I will happily come down here, sit down here, and I do mouse and keyboard, not controller.
Yep.
So I'm sitting there every week and I'm like, yeah, this is great. I can't. It's so good, and it should have been number 1. And I had a month and change with it at that point, and somehow it has stayed in the rotation for the full year. Like you said, Boston, it's been a year, and I'm still having fun. And like every couple of months, it's like, yeah, let's use a different mod loadout. Let's throw these new things in, take this thing out, and change how it goes.
Right.
Yeah. Lethal Company should have been number 1. I made a mistake, but yes, my snapshot now is Lethal Company number 1.
There you go. All right, Nimp, what is your look back at last year's top 10?
So, I still feel that where I had everything is where I would put everything now.
Okay.
I haven't really touched anything since then, but yeah, to give everyone a quick rundown, my 10 was Final Fantasy 16. 9 was Telia Riza 3, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, Midnight Suns, Evernight, Little Witch Nobeta, sorry, Prince Super Small, Anno, The Legend of Heroes, Trails of Azure, Tokyo Ghostwire, and then Spirit Hunters Infinite Horde.
Mm-hmm.
And any game that I get a platinum in is always top 3, or at least towards the top, because that means I actually put the time in to do it and I was enjoying doing it. So I don't feel bad about that. The only thing that I'm sitting here thinking about is like maybe put Jedi Survivor and Midnight Suns a little bit higher.
Sure.
But I mean, they're all on my top 10 list. It's like I enjoyed them enough to put them on the list and say, hey, you guys should check this game out.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I get the thing about the season pass for Midnight Suns being on sale for $14, it's like, man, I think I should buy that and finish
I could
the rest of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just I'm good with where I have everything, especially reading my notes, because I noted a bunch of stuff for why I put them where, and I feel good about it. Nice. And yeah, my honorable mention / Alpha Protocol notes for Star Citizen is very vast.
Yeah, talk about a snapshot in time, man. Yeah. My top 10 for last year, I actually feel pretty good about. Let me read it here from 10 to 1. It was The Bookwalker, Thief of Tales, Diablo 4, Risk of Rain Returns, Power Wash Simulator at number 7, Cocoon, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, Venba at number 4, Spirit Hunters Infinite Horde at 3, Theater Rhythm Final Bar Line at 2, and The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom at number 1. I feel like my 3 kind of standouts here is Diablo 4. I know I was sort of struggling whether or not to put that on the list. I think if I was going back to it, I probably wouldn't. I think Diablo 4, I played through that once, and I played the campaign and dropped it like a hot coal.
Yeah,
like I don't even have that installed anymore. Like I just there's no interest. It's the polar opposite of Diablo 3, where I think Diablo 3 is still installed on my PS5. There absolutely no staying power, which I don't think should have too much of an impact on where it sits on the list, before seasons came out and season passes and all that. But I think looking back at it, I think even at that point in 2023, I was sort of like, it was okay, but for a new Diablo game, I think I was sort of expecting or maybe hoping for more than what it came out as.
Yeah, because like I didn't even get into the season stuff for 3. I
Right.
went back through and replayed 3 and platinumed that before 4 came out as kind of prep.
Mm-hmm.
And I still enjoyed playing 3. But like you
Yeah.
were saying with 4, like we had the Necromancer DLC come out, and I'm like, or was it the Druid? I don't. Either way, we had a new character. I think it was Druid that
Right.
came
It
out.
was something, yeah.
Yeah, and it was like for $30. I'm like,
And I'm like, okay, I'm
yeah,
good.
like whatever. And I
Yeah.
just haven't touched it either because it was in my honorable as well.
Yeah.
So
I think I'd probably put Power Wash Simulator maybe a little bit higher. I feel like the number of times that they continue to like release bonkers DLC packs, and the way that they continue to stay committed to that game, I think is really great. And the more I think about playing that game, especially playing through the story and how big that kind of base game without the DLC is, and remembering like the final level and where all of that goes, it's sort of like I probably should have put that a little bit higher. That game is super cool, and it's not a gimmick. Like you see some of these simulator games that come out, and it's like, come on, man, come on, like for real, you're gonna make that? Like that's not. But and we all had that impression too of Power Wash. It was like, come on, you're just power washing stuff. Come on. But yeah, turns out to be really great. Who would have thought? So Power Wash Simulator is great, and I feel like I probably I probably should have put Venba a little bit higher. I think if I was to put it somewhere, I probably would have put it above Spirit Hunters Infinite Horde. I think that's the game whose story and kind of overall vibe has stuck with me the most in the year since we talked about it last. It's not a game I talk about a lot, but it's a game like Edith Finch where I think about every once in a while. I was like, man, Venba was just that was a cool thing. Like it's a lot like Click Holding, where it's not a super long game, but they do so much with that game and with its story and with its puzzles and with the cooking. They put out the cookbook DLC this year of just like here's all the recipes for the stuff that's in the game, which doesn't radically change or improve the game, but it's kind of a nice little kind of tying the bow at the end of like here now it's kind of the complete thing. So
yeah.
I think that's. But I looked at this list in prep for this and looked at Zelda at the top, and I was just like, really? And then thought about it for a while, and was like, yeah, yeah, that game was pretty great. Especially, I really wish that other people would play it so I could talk about the incredible moment at the very end of that game where the game like breaks its own conventions for once in the funniest and scariest way. And I just really want to talk to somebody else about it. This is an incredible moment.
When the Switch 2 gets announced and they are backwards compatible, I will finally finish Breath of the Wild, and then I'll start on that one.
I really hope they don't announce it between when we record this and when it goes live.
It's just the durability.
Wait, when's the Game Awards?
It's pretty soon.
Yeah.
In the past, it just happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I surprisingly looking at Tears of the Kingdom and had that kind of flash of like, oh man, I made a mistake, and then thinking about it, like, no, that actually was a really great like distillation of what made Breath of the Wild great, and then just massively expanding on the chaos of what those games can be, and just like you do it, you make it yourself. Go nuts. Like whatever you want to do. It's like, yeah, okay, whatever I can do. It's like, nope, yep, it's whatever I can do. Whatever I want to do. Okay, let's break this game. Let's go. So that game's really good. So all right. Well, that's the end of our first episode here. We'll get to some additional categories next episode to kind of wrap up this fine year of video games in 2024. I want to thank everybody for listening for this so far. Hopefully you enjoyed your time here with this episode, and I hope that you'll enjoy next episode as well. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.